In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to set up the computing environment for big data analytics. The process is somewhat lengthy, however, the good news is that we only have to go through this once. Once we set up the environment, we're going to use it throughout the entire series. Before we go to the specific details of step-by-step setting up the computing environment, I'd like to give you a conceptual perspective on that. So we start with our own computer, right? It can be a desktop or a laptop which runs on Windows or a Mac iOS operating system. The cluster is in the cloud. We're going to use Amazon Web Services. Then we need to connect this computer to AWS. For that, we're going to use SSH, Secured Shell Protocol. We also need to find a way to move the files back and forth from our computer to the cluster, and we use an FTP program, File Transfer Protocol program. So basically, in order to create this computing environment, we need to follow 3 steps. In the first step, we need to set up the cluster. This cluster is called EMR, Elastic Map Reduced. It's one of the many services that Amazon Web Services can provide for you. Once we have set up the cluster, we need to connect to the cluster, so we move on to the second step. Now, the second step depends on the system that we are running. If it's a Windows, we're going to use a program called PuTTY. If it's a Mac, we're going to use the terminal, which is already part of your Mac. Finally, we're going to set up the FTP protocol, and we're going to use, for Windows, we're going to use WinSCP or FileZilla. For Mac, we're going to use FileZilla. By the way, all of these programs that you see here are free. You can download them for free from the internet. So the process has 3 steps, and we cover these steps in the next 2 video tutorials. The next episode is episode 2, part 2, where we learn how to set up the EMR. In episode 2, part 3, we learn how to set up SSH and FTP for Windows users. We also have a similar episode for Mac users. If you want to learn more about big data analytics, subscribe to this channel. Also, follow me on Twitter at Professor Benny or join my LinkedIn network. You can always email me with any questions.